You're exhausted, not from work. You're exhausted from trying to be a man in a world that keeps changing the rules on you. See, one voice in your head says, be strong, don't complain, handle your shit. The other voice says, hey, man, open up, share your feelings, be softer. You try to be strong, now you're cold, you're emotionally unavailable. You try opening up, now you're too much, you're too sensitive. If you speak up, you're aggressive or toxic. You back off, well, you're weak, you're not a real man. And slowly it shifts from confusing to hopeless. You lie there at night replaying conversations thinking, did I screw that up? Am I a bad man for how I handled that? Maybe I'm just broken. You're not broken. You're trapped in a rigged game with no rule book for your identity. In this video, you're going to do three things. One, you're going to see exactly how this game is set up. Two, you see why it keeps you stuck second-guessing everything. And three, you're going to start rebuilding your identity as a man so other people's reactions stop deciding who you think you are. Once you see this pattern, believe me, you can't unsee it. You will never hear the phrase, be a man, the same way again. Stay with me. This is the trap you can't win. Let's make this real by illustrating situations that perhaps come from your own life. You're at work. Your boss drops a "we need this by Monday" project on your desk, and the only problem is it's Thursday afternoon, 4:45 p.m. You know the math doesn't work. The responsible move is to say, hey, this timeline isn't realistic if you want it done properly. But you know how that goes. Suddenly you're negative. You're not being a team player. So yeah, shut up and take it. Now you're grinding all night and then the weekend, snapping at the people you actually care about, sleeping like shit. And when you finally vent at home, you get, why didn't you just tell them no? You always bottle everything up. At work, if you speak up, you're a problem. At home, if you don't, you're emotionally shut down. Either way, you lose. Or say you're in a relationship and she says, I want you to open up more. I want you to tell me what you're really feeling. You never do that. So one night you do and talk about stress, fear, anger. You say, sometimes I feel completely lost. Now, to her, that's scary. So a week later, when you're in an argument with her, you hear, you're so dramatic. I can't carry all your emotions. Why don't you just be a man? So which is it? Open up or stop being so emotional? This is the trap. You're being judged by reactions, not by a solid identity. And reactions change every 5 minutes. If you're already seeing this in yourself, then you're seeing exactly why you keep ending up in relationships that drain you and keep you constantly confused about who the hell you are. I built a free guide called Detox Your Toxic Relationships. Now, this guide is meant to help you spot and cut the people who weaponize this game against you, or at the very least, figure out who you should be spending more of your quality time with. You'll find the link right below this video. Save it for after you watch this all the way through. So here's how the game's rigged. Here's the pattern. You've got two sets of expectations sitting on your shoulders. One is the old school set. It's the one that says, hey, be strong, don't crack, provide, don't complain, protect, fix, lead. Set two is the new school. And it says, hey man, be vulnerable, share your feelings, be gentle, collaborate, step back. Now on paper, they both sound fine. In real life, they collide. Old school says, hey, men don't cry. New school says, why won't you ever cry? Old school says, handle your problems, while new school tells you, why didn't you ask for help? You're not being invited to choose who you are and live that set of rules. You're being told, be both, all the time, perfectly. And I reserve the right, by the way, to punish you, whichever one you show me in this moment. Now, in the middle of that, you get sold this fake alpha bullshit all over the internet. Chest out, loudest guy in the room, everyone must submit to you, and you never doubt yourself. Well, that's what my book, You're Not an Alpha, You're an Asshole, is about. You're not failing because you're not some cartoon wolf at the top of some fake pack. You're failing because your identity is being yanked around by whoever you happen to be in front of. Now, regardless of how this may sound, most of this isn't some evil plot against you. Everyone's just living their lives, running their preferences on you. Your boss prefers the version of you that never pushes back. Your partner prefers the version of you that absorbs their stress but never adds any of your own. Your friends prefer the version of you that always pays, always drives, always plans, and never needs anything. Each person is pulling for the version of you that's most convenient for them. And you're calling that tug of war your identity as a man. That's the rigged game. Now, here's why this destroys your identity. Here's what this does to you inside. First, it creates a sense of hypervigilance. You've got to stop living your life and start reading the room. You walk into a conversation already thinking, what do they need from me so that they stay calm, happy, and not disappointed? You're not asking, what's the right thing here for the man I want to be? You're asking, what will get the least backlash? Now, the second one is chronic self-doubt. You replay everything. You ask yourself, what did I say wrong? Was I too direct? Did I cave in too fast? Did I just screw this up permanently? You don't evaluate your choices by, did I act from the identity I want to build? You evaluate them by, are they upset with me right now? The third is called identity erosion. At some point you realize you don't actually know what you believe about being a man. You know what your dad expected, what your ex hated, what your boss rewards, and what social media performs. But if you pause and ask yourself, what is my actual standard for myself as a man? Well, your brain probably stalls. Not because you're broken, because you've spent years grading yourself on other people's reactions instead of on your own chosen identity. Next is the victim trap. If life hits you, if people screw you over, well, you start collecting reasons why you can't change, why it's not your fault, why you're stuck exactly where you are. That's what Cry Harder, You're Not a Victim, That's a Choice is all about. See, you can't rebuild a strong identity while you're still competing in those victim Olympics. You either keep rehearsing how powerless you are, or you start taking responsibility for what you can change. Rebuilding your identity. Yeah, so how do you get out of this? You stop letting the room tell you who you are, and you start choosing your identity on purpose. See, identity is simple. This is who you are and how you act, even when it costs you. You want to use the next 4 anchors as a starting point and write your own version. Anchor 1 is presence. You show the fuck up fully. When you're in a conversation, you're in it. Phone down, eyes up. You listen. You answer honestly, not perfectly honestly. Anchor 2 is boundaries. You say yes from choice and no from choice, not from fear. If a deadline is impossible, you say, that can't be done at that quality by Monday. But here's what I can do. If someone dumps their entire emotional world on you at 11:30, but you've got to be up for your 6 a.m. shift, you say, look, I care about this, but I also need some sleep. Let's talk tomorrow when I can actually be present. Some people won't like that. Their reaction is not the scoreboard. Your question is, did I act according to the man I'm choosing to be? Anchor number 3 is competence. You take responsibility for skills you actually control. If you're broke, you work on income and discipline. If you blow up in anger, you work on your nervous system, not just trying harder. If you're passive, you practice saying one clear sentence instead of swallowing it. Anchor 4, integrity. Your words and actions match, even when no one's looking. You don't punish vulnerability in others while demanding it for yourself. You don't demand respect. You don't give. You don't call yourself a protector, but abandon people when it's inconvenient. Now, from now on, when something happens, you don't ask, did they like how I handled that? You ask, did I act in line with the identity I'm building? If yes, well, you learn, refine, move on. If no, just adjust your behavior next time. You don't have to beat yourself up. Their reaction is data. Your identity should be the standard. And if you want this to go deeper, that's exactly why my coaching program, Identity Reboot, was formed. You take the version of you that's been built by other people's expectations, you strip it down, and you rebuild a solid identity you can actually live from in your work, your relationships, and your own head. See, you're not broken. You've just been playing a game where the rules change every time someone's mood does. You don't need everyone to agree with your version of being a man. You need to be able to look at yourself and say, I know who I am, and I acted from that. Now, when this video ends, do 3 things. 1, write your identity, not a journal entry. 3 sentences that start with, as a man, I will, and then fill in the blank. That's your first draft. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. 2, grab the free Detox Your Toxic Relationships guide in the description below. If you're trying to rebuild your identity while you're still surrounded by people who profit from you staying confused and small, you're going to stay stuck. Use the guide to start clearing that out and figure out who you should be spending more time with while figuring out who you might want to spend less time. Number 3, if this hits too close to home, go deeper on purpose. Buy the book, You're Not an Alpha, You're an Asshole. It kills the fake alpha myth that's been warping your idea of manhood. Cry Harder, You're Not a Victim, That's a Choice is my second book, and it rips you out of the victim role. That's the one that keeps you from changing anything. If you're done living by everyone else's script and you want help rebuilding your identity on purpose, hit subscribe, check out Identity Reboot Coaching, and remember, you don't fix this by thinking about it. You fix it by choosing your own identity and living one decision at a time from that identity.